Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, my partner in crime, Vasili, Gianarakos, back for another episode. It's going to be an interesting one. Vasili, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Doing good, Yariv. It's gonna be a fun episode. We got a lot to dive into. Mainly though, I've just been watching a lot of playoff hockey lately, and last
Yeah.
night that Colorado Edmonton 5-5 over going into overtime, and then Colorado moving to the Stanley Cup final. I just thought it was a crazy game
Crazy.
and
Crazy game.
kind of interesting just to see the Oilers be up that big and then have Colorado come back. And we were talking off air a bit, like we just had a feeling. We were both saying we had a feeling Colorado, as soon as they got like 4-2, they were gonna sneak back into it, and they somehow did do it. And you got to think for Edmonton, like, are they finally gonna get a goalie? Like, if they just had the goalie, I think they
I don't know.
had
I don't think it would have mattered.
You don't think it would have mattered?
No.
I just think Smith really let them down, man.
Look,
Like,
to some degree, yes. I just think Colorado is that scary good of a team.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's just, you know what? Let's just start off with the playoff talk. We're gonna do it at the end, but we'll just do it now. Real quick, I do just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Jim Steaks on 4th and South Street. Please go get a cheesesteak from Jim's. They are Flyers fans. We're Flyers fans. Go get a cheesesteak. All right. So yeah, that particular series, I'll be honest with you, I thought that there was a good chance that Edmonton would get shut out, but I thought that every game would be close.
Yeah.
It actually kind of was what I anticipated, which was a high-scoring series where Edmonton loses in 4 or 5. And not because I think Edmonton's a bad team. It's just everything Edmonton does, Colorado does it better.
Well, I expected the same. I mean, like, I expected fully Colorado to come out with the win. I just didn't think that they wouldn't even get one win out of it. So that was a surprising thing to me. But, I mean, like you said, Colorado's a great team. So to see them dominate like that when, you know, you have Cale Makar and McKinnon just ramping it up to an even higher level in the previous round.
McKinnon
Kind of insane. McKinnon's ridiculous. But you got to feel bad. I just feel bad for Edmonton in the sense that, like, Draisaitl had, what, 5? He had 5 points last night, and McDavid had 4 points, and they still, like, that's crazy to think about.
I think
they're going to get it done.
I think they're both 2-point per game players in this playoffs.
Yeah, they have, I think,
32 or something. 32 plus.
McDavid has 33 and 16. Games, and Draisaitl has 32 points in 16 games. Like, there's a good chance that McDavid could lead in scoring
by
the entire playoffs. Like, it's like a Peter Forsberg. I don't know what playoff it was, but Forsberg did that one time, I think in either 1998 or like 2001, 2002, where he led the playoff scoring, even though he got eliminated in the conference finals all the way through to the end of the playoffs, which is like,
interesting.
It's kind of insane that so McDavid will be the first guy since Forsberg to do that.
I mean,
do you think McDavid is the best? Like, do you think McDavid is the best generational talent coming into the league since, like, Lindros, essentially? Like, because that's what it seems like to me. Like,
I mean,
there's been no player that's come in since him that's had the same, like, wow. Like, I mean, Crosby and Ovechkin, okay, obviously, but, like, you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to get at.
I would say there is something. I think it's really about McDavid's skating. I think that separates him from a guy like Crosby and Ovechkin and, like, their level of eliteness. And obviously there's, like, the Patrick Kane levels, and there's stuff like that. But there is an X factor to McDavid that you can't help but be like, it's so rare to see this combination of skills.
Exactly.
Where he's got the size. He's 6'2", right? I think he's 6'1", 6'2". He's like,
he can
not
fly.
a small.
He literally can reach, like,
45,
50 miles per hour on skates. Like,
dude, you watch him skate. 2 strides for him is like another player's 4.
Yeah, it's nuts.
He is insanely fast. His hands are fast. He is elite at every aspect of the game, probably defensively if he puts his mind to it. And that's probably next. So there is a chance that this guy is potentially even more generational than somebody like Eric Lindros. And I would say, I think you can make the case now that he is.
Maybe I would say just look at what he's doing in the playoffs, like just the point totals in the game.
Yeah.
It's insane. And also this season, he had over 120 points.
Yeah,
easily.
It's probably since
he had 123
Lemieux.
Points. Yeah, it's probably since Lemieux.
Since Lemieux.
That's probably the best way to look at it. It's nuts. Like, he has 33, Draisaitl 32. The next closest to them is Zibanejad at 24. And I'm pretty sure the Rangers have played more games because they've gone to 2 game 7s, which is even more crazy, man.
Dude,
So like,
he is again. Can you imagine how good he would be if you put him on a better team?
oh my god,
And they're not a bad team anymore. I'm not saying
no,
that they're still a bad
no.
team. They finally have collected some talent around him. They can attack. Obviously, Vander Kane was a huge
But just
addition.
in a
stuff like
different
that.
environment where it isn't just like, okay, he's the main threat. There's like more
I
layers
mean,
to
just a
the
team like
attack.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Look how good Nate McKinnon is. Nate
Oh,
McKinnon,
dude.
in my opinion, is clear cut the second best player in the NHL behind McDavid.
I like, yeah. So like my ranking for that would probably be McDavid. Then you go McKinnon, then Matthews, and then actually maybe even MacArthur.
Draisaitl might even be above Matthews, dude. Even though Matthews Matthews is the best goal scorer in the National Hockey League outside of Ovechkin.
Definitely.
I can't disagree with that. But you look at what Draisaitl does, it's like, dude, if that guy was on another team.
I'm interested to see what injuries get released about Draisaitl because he looked like he was like really hampering. He probably was playing with like who the fuck knows, honestly. He's probably playing something crazy. I think Darnell Nurse was saying he was playing with a torn hip flexor. He had a hip flexor torn. I think end of the regular season. Yeah. End of the regular season. That's crazy. That's a really hard injury to play with, especially in hockey. So like, imagine Draisaitl is probably dealing with something similar.
I will say this: Edmonton's got a lot to build on. I think they not overachieve, but they considering the type of season they had with the rocky midpoint, I would say that they ended on a strong note, even to get shut out by what is the best team in the National Hockey League.
I mean, I didn't expect them to get to this point. I didn't expect them to get to the conference finals.
Right, that's my point.
Thought maybe round 2 was a possibility for them. So obviously probably success they may have not expected, but it's crazy because they dropped out of the playoffs, snuck back in, and then went on this run. You have to think the goalie, like they're going to probably do something about the goalie. I don't think Mike Smith's going to come back.
Either goalie or they're going to look. They have to do both, in my opinion. The type of team that we saw from the Oilers is okay. You finally have a legitimate team. This is the first time, in my opinion, that this Oilers team. It's like kind of where the Leafs were, like about a year ago, maybe even more. Maybe 2 years ago, where you're like, okay, you're finally amassing enough talent around these core players where this is a really good team. Like if Matthews is out, the team still wins. Right?
Yeah, exactly. If this star guy's out, there's still somebody that can step up.
Oilers are not like that.
Not even close.
Like if you take Draisaitl or McDavid out of the lineup, they're hampered. Immediate step back.
Even Nugent Hopkins, if you take him out, arguably, like they're hampered big time.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, the Flyers are in a worse position than that.
Oh
right?
yeah,
the Flyers are like Edmonton without Draisaitl, McDavid
or McDavid. Right? yeah. Maybe a Nugent Hopkins that they have, which is Couturier or something.
What we have is I want to talk about him a little bit later.
Better than him, I would say. Obviously.
Yeah, but I do want to talk about that in general because there's a recency bias there thing we'll talk about. But I do think now that I don't know what their cap situation is. Let's look it up actually. Yeah. If I was the Edmonton Oilers and I'm Ken Holland, I'm like, okay, like you said, my goaltending is not very good, right? Or not consistent, and it's old. And I need to fix that, right? And I recognize that my D is decent, but it's not great. It's got some young talent on it, so it could get better naturally. Yeah, like you don't look at somebody like Cody Ceci as somebody who's like an awesome player. No. Dougie Keith is 38, and maybe you re-sign him on the cheap, right?
They're really hoping Bouchard hits. That's the main thing for them.
Exactly. Clefbaum has not been available for like I don't even know how long.
2 years at this point.
He's always injured.
Yeah.
Tyson Barrie is decent, not great.
Good number 4 if you have better players ahead of him, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. Like if anything, he's probably not going to carry you to a Stanley Cup though.
No, not even.
Maybe number 4, but the other 3 have to be really strong.
They gotta be bona fide, like head and shoulders above.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's not bad as a 4, but when you look at the fact that it's really Darnell Nurse carrying the torch there, and then hoping that Evan Bouchard gets to that point, which I think there's a good chance.
He looks good. He looks
good. Who's younger, but then outside of that, I'm sure there's somebody in the system I don't know. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on the Oilers here. Yeah. You look at this team; they're ready to compete right now. You need a defenseman. And maybe a guy like Klingberg is what you go after this year. Yeah. And I don't know if he's the guy to go after, but you try to get another top
That's the big
defense.
UFA technically.
Yeah, you got to try to get a top defender in here. Evander Kane's probably re-signing here. Let's be honest.
Yeah, most likely.
Even
think
at
about
a
the
discount.
success. Think about the success he had. Yeah.
Even on a discount though, I don't think he can afford to take a discount with his history.
I also
but
and I'll honestly
his life
I
has
don't
been
think,
better.
I
since
don't.
leaving.
Yeah, for sure. But I also don't think there's a lot of other teams are going to have much interest in Kane like that. Maybe he showed that he was going to be like he showed that he performed really well in the playoffs, played well with McDavid. But I mean, I don't know. I just don't think
He's
a lot
always
of
a
teams want.
great player. He's just
He is,
he's a
but I
problem.
just don't think teams want to touch that. And Edmonton knows that okay, he can work here, obviously in their locker room, and it isn't a problem. So why not go back?
I think a team at a very reduced cost, considering his turnaround, would consider it now. Just given the fact, like, dude, he had 39 points in 43 games with the Oilers, and then 49 points in 56 games with the Sharks. The previous year,
you know what? He's
always
talented.
putting a point.
He's talented. It's just the
I don't want
him surrounding him.
I wouldn't want him, but I would sign him here for a year just to. Actually, I'd rather tank for Bedard.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want
and
Kane
Mitch
in a Flyers. Yeah, I don't think I'd want Kane in a Flyers uniform.
The whole point is that look, they'll probably get Kane at a discount. Their offense is already pretty lethal. But you got to shore up the D and shore up the goaltender. If you can add both of those, this is a legitimate cup contender.
Then they can take another step, and who knows? Like you said,
if they can do that, they're legit next year.
They're
legit. People should be scared of them.
I definitely agree.
These players are just too good.
We'll see goalie wise as they can get. So, one last thing for just playoff talk.
No, we're not.
Okay. I thought was super interesting.
We didn't talk about the other.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to the other series. That's how fascinating. There you go. We're spending like 20 minutes on one series.
Fantastic.
Oh
they've been really good in my opinion.
They've been really good. Probably one of the best playoffs we've seen in the last 5-10 years, I'd say. But crazy thing, like they were showing on the broadcast last night, McDavid kind of speeding up through the ice, and then you have Makar and McKinnon on the ice at the same time as McDavid, and they slowed it down. You see like everybody else getting blown by. McKinnon and Makar kind of keeping up with McDavid. That just shows like the talent on the ice there.
Their skating is insane.
Yeah, all three of them. Like you rarely ever see anybody keep up with McDavid. The fact that those guys can just shows like they're on another level as well.
Oh my god. Well, McKinnon is, I think, the closest thing we had to a modern day like Eric Lindros. Like, you don't have it. But as far as like a bull rush type of center, like he's not the biggest guy, but he definitely plays. The way he goes to the net, the power in which he skates, like he's more of a power skater at high speed than McDavid. McDavid, honestly, the guy can do it all, but just McKinnon's like, you look at the
way he kind of winds it up. McDavid does it less like not obtrusive, but like McKinnon kind of winds it up. McDavid just like. It's just a snap of the fingers and he's going already. Like,
it's almost like when you would watch like Ovechkin and Crosby play each other, and you watch them like wind up for a slap shot.
Different styles, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But same results almost.
yeah, exactly, almost. Yeah. So the other series is going on right now as we record this. It's actually 30 minutes into the game, and I will say this: the Lightning is up 1-0.
Yeah.
And
Patrick Maroon, assisted by Bogosian and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. So you got two former Flyers. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like nobody talks about the fact that Justin Braun is in the series and playing very well, by the way.
Yeah, he's playing good in the third period. Yeah, I agree.
He's probably one of the best trades at the trade deadline. That best value trades, third round pick, and he's playing a key role in the top four. In a, I guess, top 4 team in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the thing is with Braun that is great for them is pretty much. The thing is with Braun is like you could, if somebody gets hurt, like you're deep in the playoffs, anything could happen. You could move up in a pinch and you'd probably be fine. So that's the thing for the Rangers that they got in on with that value for him. It's kind of crazy this series because you thought the Rangers had a stranglehold, and Shesterkin looks, I mean, amazing. Even last game, they had over 50 shots on him and only gave up 3 goals, so kind of nuts. But like you thought the Rangers kind of had a stranglehold. They were playing a lot better. They're still getting outplayed 5-on-5. They had a bit more pace than Tampa, and maybe you could say, okay, all that playoff hockey catching up to Tampa Bay. But after Tampa won the last game and they were pouring it on the Rangers, just offensive pressure throughout the whole game, keeping it in their end, over 50 shots on net. I just feel it like if the Rangers can't win tonight, I just think Tampa is gonna
take
run
the
away.
series.
They're gonna run away with it. I think the Rangers got to take it
They
tonight.
smell blood and they'll take it. And it's crazy because they don't have Point. That's a huge loss for this team.
I think he was at practice, so that's a good sign for them.
Yeah, but I saw that he was kind of called off for the game.
Yeah.
I'll say this though, the Rangers are obviously very legit. I mean,
oh yeah, they're good. They're a good team.
They don't really have a flaw. They're kind of just younger in some aspects than a team like Tampa Bay. They're a little less seasoned. But that's not necessarily a problem. I mean, they're probably going to be damn fucking good next year too.
Yeah.
And definitely the year after with the type of core they have together. So you're looking at least what, including this season, 3 years of this.
Well, who knows when Lafreniere is only what 20, 21. Like he's gonna pop off one of these years.
But then you'll figure the other guys will start kind of like there'll be like a switch, right? There's Lafreniere, there's also Kakko, which I'm sure eventually will probably, materialize. Their Cheadle isn't Cheadle young?
Yeah, no. Cheadle's young.
Yeah,
well, they've been running with a kid line. It's Cheadle, Lafreniere, and Kakko, and throughout the playoffs, they've been going to that line, and they've provided them a lot of secondary scoring. Like a lot of them are you could argue it's like a breakout for those three guys playing together. They're playing really well.
That's a big reason why they've made it this far.
Yeah, Lafreniere has been good. I mean, he's even the end of the season, kind of Lafreniere was coming on. So, I mean, people were low on him just the way he finished last year and kind of how he started the season. But like I said, he's a number one pick. He obviously has the talent. Just sometimes it doesn't always click instantly. Like as soon as you get to the NHL, even with Steven Stamkos, think about it. I think he's a good comparison.
You don't remember what Barry Melrose said? Oh, he's not ready. And then literally the next year, Stamkos had like 80 points or something.
Yeah, I know, like 40 goals.
Yeah.
Exactly. I always go back to Stamkos as a comparison. Is that like his first year in the NHL? He was everybody thought he was
wrong coach. Yeah. Wrong coach.
There you go. Wrong coach.
I mean, he clearly was. Even if Stamkos wasn't ready, he didn't just go from nothing to 40 goals a year. You weren't utilizing him right either. You weren't the right coach for the guy.
But you weren't obviously propping him up the way you needed to be. But it's crazy just to show that, I mean, it's not always going to be instant for everyone. And then, certain players take a little bit longer than other players. And this actually segues perfectly, I think, into our next topic we're going to go into. And I was just touching on breakout players for the Flyers and, what coach would, bring the best out of certain players if they were to be hired. And I don't know if you wanted to start out and get into it, Yariv, but who do you think, at least breakout wise, that you're kind of looking at on the Flyers team of potentially, having a big year next year?
Yeah. And just to add to that, I keep forgetting to announce this in the beginning, right? But the goal is really to think about that with all of the topics we move forward. I guess we're talking about the playoffs anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. But the goal is really to think about that as we talk about all these topics because it's summertime and there's really not that much going on right now.
Yeah.
And we know what the biggest focus is, and it's finding a coach because there's not much the Flyers can actually do while the playoffs are on except for this.
No.
Okay, so you're asking me which coach do I think can get players to break out and who, or do you want to just go through the coaches and see who would benefit from who?
We could do it that way. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Well, all right. Let's talk about the coach situation. So I guess the first recent update for those who have not heard that the Boston Bruins have fired their coach. Bruce Cassidy is now out as well. So that's another opening for, quite frankly, a pretty damn good team. And Cassidy will probably be out there as well in the market. I doubt that teams will be rushing, that teams will be weary to hire the guy. I mean, he had a pretty good reputation.
He never missed the playoffs. Never missed the playoffs once. Had a 107-point season this season. And so, the Bruins weren't the greatest and the most deepest team all year until they made some additions at the deadline, right?
Yep. I think it was a little bit of surprise that he got fired. To be honest,
I thought so too. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's out there now, available for the Flyers to interview. But he's also, it's another spot that's open. The Bruins are going to be a competitive team. Again, they have the money that the Flyers have. They have a better team. They're in a better position right now. They have the history. So it's got to be seen as an option now for even a guy like Barry Trotz. And then the other side of that is that, there's a lot of rumors kind of going around of who the Flyers are even interested in. And then there's also the fact that Rick Tocchet today came out. I don't know if it happened today, but it came out today that Rick Tocchet is interviewing with the Flyers. So he's also been interviewed, which I think a lot of people are super excited about that. So I guess just like kind of sum that up, right? Like we have Cassidy's out there now. We have Torts out there. And again, there's a tweet by John Buccigross who tweeted Tortorella and
a picture of
Gritty together. Which
again, I don't know what that means, but he must know something or have heard something to tweet that out, I'm assuming.
Yeah, again, we've heard stuff all the way until the end and it never ended up being true. So
yeah,
I do want to get into that. And then at the end, after we analyze this, let's see if our top picks have changed. We know there's Jim Montgomery still out there. Again, we know Torts is obviously an highly considered. Jim Montgomery, I don't believe they've interviewed yet, but obviously the name is out there.
Yeah.
And, there's other guys like Kevin Dineen and all that, but it really seems like the top guys out there really are Tortorella, Trotz, obviously Tocchet. I imagine Cassidy's going
to get
an interview. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did some interviews that we haven't even heard about.
Yeah, they got Mike Vellucci in there. And
exactly. Good call. I forgot. Kirk, did they interview Mueller? Or was that?
I don't know if they interviewed Mueller, but I know it was like they were interested. So
yeah.
I think they. I think too they were interested as well in going for what was it? One of the Kevin Dineen as well. I think you mentioned, right? That's
yeah, Kevin Dineen as well out there. There's definitely been some names. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I think ultimately there's a benefit with most of these coaches. I think the Flyers have enough options. And I guess like the first thought I have is like, I don't really know if I want to wait till the end. I'm not in those meetings. I don't know what conversations they're having with Barry Trotz. Maybe Barry Trotz is like legitimately like, hey, Flyers are top 2 pick for me right now.
I got to think about it. Yeah. That's why they're kind of waiting and their hands are tied.
Again, they're going to offer the most amount of money. And right off the bat, let's talk about Trotz first, I guess. So right off the bat, they're going to offer him the most amount of money.
Oh, yeah.
And realistically, like,
and rightfully so. I mean, he has the pedigree to go along with it. So
100%. And the next guy I'll bring up also does. And I think it's kind of forgotten because it's a little bit in the past and he's controversial, obviously, with Trotz. But, you look at a guy like Couturier, definitely excel under Trotz. Almost zero doubt, right?
Of course, yeah.
Joel Farabee, also.
I think that would be like a candidate for a breakout under Trotz, to be honest, because I think a Trotz system would foster like Joel Farabee getting a lot more playing time and then just grow his game
in all situations.
Yeah, exactly. Grow his game even further as just a complete two-way guy.
Yeah.
So Farabee, maybe even a Tippett as well. I could see Trotz, trying to utilize the shot, but
I could see Tippett being more of a question mark.
Yeah, for sure.
But if I can see him breaking out under any of the coaches, to your point.
Yeah, exactly. I would say the same.
It seemed to me like he was kind of primed for that, the excitement of being here and whatnot.
Yeah, I want to see, that too. I just want to see, what Tippett can do kind of playing with, more talented centers, because he obviously he's playing with Frost, he had some chemistry, but I'd love to see maybe next to Couturier or Hayes for an extended period of time. That could open up more space for him in his shot. I think just the way they hold the puck, enter the zone, you kind of draw defenders in, leave him open. Who knows? It might work out well.
I think, look, if Trotz really is as great, if you're really a great coach, majority of players should excel under you.
Yeah, you can bring the best out of any player. That's the truth.
Or at least 80 to 95% of the players, right? Like 80 to almost 100%. You should be able to do. If you're really a great coach and things are going well, obviously things can losing can create problems, but different story. But you look at, so we talked about Tippett. What about a guy like Travis Konechny?
Travis Konechny, this is the thing with him is I feel as though for Konechny to really break out, they need to put him in position to succeed on the power play. A lot of the time, I've noticed the past couple seasons, they're never static with his position. Like he'll either be up at the top.
They were playing him on the penalty kill at the end of this season.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting as well. Yeah, but I noticed with the power play, and I don't know if you noticed this as well, but they'll move him into the slot. They'll have him playing, on the left side, on the right side. They hate it. Down low in front of the net. They never give him a static position. So I think whichever one of these coaches, and I mean, it could be all of them who see it, and it could be none of them potentially, who's to say, right? But whatever one of these coaches gives him a concrete position on that power play and lets him, develop some confidence in that position, I think we'll see more scoring from him, more breakout, just a better season production wise. So we'll see if they can do that. I just noticed that over the years he hasn't really gotten the the prime time, and I would say like the same exact spot where not to say that like you need to be static on a power play and always stay in the same position, but as a player, it's easier to know your role when you know where you're playing more often than not versus like mixing it up, switching it around so
totally.
often, right?
Well, you can make the case that a lot of the other guys have to deal with that stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, and look at the way the team is gone. But
well.
Yeah. Well, but just thinking about it, like I think TK could excel under a guy like Trot. So I think maybe I should say this now because I'm going to end up repeating myself. I see the benefits that Trots bring, I think, are extremely similar to the benefits that Tortorella brings.
Well,
I think we have to. I think we have to be honest with ourselves that Tortorella was the hot coach at one point, and now it's Barry Trotz, right? Who has a cup, and so does Tortorella.
Exactly.
Who again took a team that nobody really wanted to play for, and nobody really wanted to watch, and made them competitive every year in Columbus. He also took other teams who went really well. The only reason he went to Columbus probably to lay low if you're going to Vancouver, and that's really the only time it didn't work. Now, Vancouver was an established good team that I don't know if they needed structure. I think they needed more of like a Laviolette guy.
Somebody to like fire them up versus
Vino. Yeah. This is my system. Execute it. High level. We're going to win. Blah, blah, blah. I think the Flyers need a guy to really become the culture of the room.
That, and also just to actually employ like an identity for them on the ice because they don't really have one.
It'll the same reason we want Brendan Moore, right?
Yeah, exactly. And those two coaches, like who better than
is being brought up by
who better than them to kind of put something like that into play.
So that's my point. And I listened to this on another podcast. I thought they made a good point. Like, do you want to wait till Barry Trotz finally makes the decision and then you're left with kind of peanuts? And I think that kind of why it goes to maybe why we're hearing so much torts, because the Flyers might be looking like, well, we could wait to see Trotz, but we have pretty much what we're looking for in John Tortorella. We can pay him probably a little bit less than we're paying. He's still going to get paid. He probably still make $4 to $5 million a year, but he's going to make pay. Trotz could get $7 million for all I know at this point, right? Six million. Yeah. So you can save some money, and you probably will get what you need from a guy who's gonna bring the culture. He's look. You might not like his thing, but he is going. That room is going to take his personality.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
The thing is, though, players respect him and actually like respect his opinion. From what I've heard, I mean, you've heard Cam Atkinson, Scott Hartnell. They want to play for him. It's not like he's an asshole to his players. Maybe he might be an asshole to the media, but there's different reasons for that.
Well,
right?
I was gonna say there's no evidence from what I recall of Tortorella being a problem with players.
No. With the media, totally different story. As I was saying,
if anything, he usually is defending the players in front of the media, and that's what creates the problem.
Exactly. Well, the players like the honesty with him, right? Like they say he's straight with them. They understand what he's looking for.
Well, I think he communicates.
Yeah, communicates well
directly to them.
And I think honestly, that's what the Flyers,
assistant coaches.
That's what the Flyers need, right? They need a direct communicator, somebody that you're going to know where you stand with your coach. And I think in general, that's something you would want probably out of a boss in any situation, right? You want somebody where you're going to know where you stand.
No, 100%. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, here's the thing: I can't stop thinking about. Maybe he won't be the coach in the end, but like, I didn't want him coaching here. If you guys remember, if anybody listens here, I was very worried about it, but not because I don't like him. Because I'm worried about like the backlash, and I'm like, but this team has no fucking fight.
No, they don't. They don't have.
Does anybody doubt that John Tortorella has fight?
No, not at all. He definitely bring them into the fight. He dragged them in there. Like I agree with the Tortorella coach team. You wouldn't see those slow starts or so frequently anymore, or the team just looking like they're coming out and not having any life to them like we saw last season a lot. So I think that would be gone for sure. I mean, I don't know if that's going to result in more sustained overall success, but I think that would be lacking from their game.
Well, it makes them more interesting. Like playing a John Tortorella team throughout the years is pretty much outside of that one time Vancouver has always been difficult to play against him.
Hard to play against. And the Flyers haven't been hard to play against for a long time.
Even if we don't win a cup with him, we need someone to spark that culture change. And I think he is good enough. He might not be Barry Trotz. He might not be the number one choice. And again, I'm not in that room. So maybe we're close on Trotz. I don't believe the negativity. I think we're up there with the other high caliber opportunities.
It's definitely possible.
Right. But here's the problem, though. Is that the more likely, and if you have a guy that you like in Tortorella, like who brings almost the same, like he's even, not that he's like, he's kind of a defensive first guy. He's not only D, but he definitely plays that type of game. You have a bunch of players, and let's go back to our theme here, who would excel under Tortorella. Like, and let's not even talk about young guys. Like literally, you can look at the list of guys on this team, and I'll even include Morgan Frost into this. I don't see any players on the Flyers' current roster where I'm like, this guy wouldn't do well for John Tortorella. You can make the case to me that it's Frost, but I honestly don't really think so. I think
I think if anything, Tortorella would be a good motivator for Frost and will help him kind of round out his two-way game, to be honest.
I think it could work.
Yeah, I think it could work.
Like Couturier playing for Tortorella could end up being the most annoying player in the NHL to play against.
that could be really good. The thing is too, like you were saying with Frost, that I thought is interesting is, I mean, it's not like Tortorella, like he might play a hard nose, like or get his team to play a rougher style, tougher style, but he's always had skilled players on his team that he's let excel, like a Panarin, like a LeCavalier, like a St. Louis. Like, look at Frost.
Always.
I'm not gonna say Frost is to the ilk of those guys are even close, but he is a playmaker. So it's not like Tortorella's gonna tie his hands and say, "Don't do what you can do." He's gonna give him the opportunity to still be himself and play to his strengths.
Yeah.
But also he's gonna instill the fact that, okay, we need to play defense. We need to play two-way hockey first, and then once the opportunities open themselves up by playing defense first, that's how you create offense, right, through defense. So that's more of kind of his style, obviously.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of bucketing the two of them together. So I'm looking at players that will excel, like Hart, both of them, defensive style coaches. They both could benefit Hart and Fedotov and the other goaltenders we have in there. I think Provorov would do very well with John Tortorella.
I agree.
People might not think that. I think Provorov is a no nonsense game type of guy. I hate how people turn on him so quickly.
Yeah.
Because like
I don't know.
he's such a low maintenance player. Like I don't know where this is coming from. It's like we're just
the guy will literally play through. He's playing through so many injuries.
Everything. Like, dude, he plays through everything. John Tortorella would love him. He would probably. And if you look at the success Tortorella had with Jones and with Werenski, he knows how to turn those guys into high-powered defensemen. It's not like they blocked down where they weren't able to produce offense under him.
And even in New York, like when McDonough first came in,
McDonough was
that was under Tortorella, right? That was under Tortorella, like early 2010s, 2011, 12, 13, around that time where he came in for New York. So, yeah.
Wow, good memory.
It's crazy. Like Tortorella's always been able to do something like that. Well, even in Tampa Bay, I mean, he had great defensemen as well. Always been able to get the most out of them.
Let's not even think about agreed, but let's even think about like the style in which that's what I want to do is like go through these players, right? Like Ristolainen, would he?
I think
great under Torts.
I think so as well. Just the way that Torts and Trotz, just the defensive structure, and the way they go.
That's what I'm saying. Grind
hockey.
Grind down hockey.
He would definitely be a benefactor of that type of hockey.
Travis Sanheim is a very stable two-way defenseman. Also, would excel under both.
Yeah.
Cam York, stable two-way offensive defense.
The Cam York one would be very interesting to me under Tortorella, especially because you make the Werenski comparison. If anything, I mean, you could say that Cam York would be a more similar skill set to a Werenski than kind of like a Provorov, because just the quarterback of the power play factor, right? Where Werenski's the power play guy for Columbus.
Yeah.
Same with Cam York. You'd imagine that.
York is like Ryan Ellis.
Yeah,
a lot like Ryan Ellis.
Very similar. Well, just be facilitate, not as fast, but facilitator of the puck, just being able to move. Great first pass. Moving.
I guess he doesn't have that Ryan Ellis bomb, but
no. But that thing is Ellis. I don't even think for Ellis it's more of a bomb. I think it's just more the accuracy. Like he always gets a shot onto the net, but that wasn't always like a constant when he first came to the NHL. He had to
No, it
learn how
took
to
time.
do that
Yeah,
in
it
Nashville.
was a
That's the
late
same.
20. Yeah,
That's the same thing. Like same thing
late
for
first round pick,
that's
right?
gonna be the same thing for Cam York, right? I think he's gonna learn, how to place his shots better, make sure they get through the net, and Tortorella can help facilitate stuff like that. But that was even somebody I was thinking about before the show, honestly. That like because we were talking about the breakout team
Yeah.
off the air and stuff. Like Cam York, I think has the potential to really break out next season, and especially I think under coaches like a Tortorella or Trotz, just because they'll instill that defensive system where he won't feel like, okay, there's so much pressure on me, like to perform defensively, obviously, as well as the offense too. But with those guys in their systems, usually just the way the system is structured, it makes it so much easier for defensemen to just get the puck out, clear the zone, because the forwards and everybody collapse back in.
Tight team game.
Yeah,
exactly. So let's keep going down this list because as you name that, I've been thinking a lot about that. So I'm kind of like, if they announce Torch tomorrow, I'd be like, all right, let's go. Like I'm ready.
I would be fine with that. I mean, I think my list has kind of changed. It's like the thing is, there isn't.
That's my point.
Yeah, there isn't so much in the fact that I wouldn't like any of these coaches. Like I love to have Trotz as a coach. Obviously, Tortorella. I mean, I've talked about Montgomery. Like for me,
but we'll talk about him in a minute.
Difference. We'll talk about him as well. I want to go into Bruce Cassidy next, if that's
let
you.
Yeah, no, we can definitely go into Cassidy. I did want to get into the other players because we didn't talk about everybody.
Yeah.
That's like a key. Like, okay, what about a guy like Scott Lawton? What about a guy like Oscar Lindblom? Would they excel under Tortorella?
Or Trotz, both of them.
Absolutely.
100%. Well, just the fact that they're
Noah Cates.
Those guys. The thing is, those players, you know what you're gonna get from them on a nightly basis. Like they're easy to project the way their game is.
I agree.
That's great for those players.
100% agree. But do they like literally? If you look at like the Islanders team, you look at the teams that these guys would want to put together, short of having maybe one or two elite guys to add scoring punch, right? You'd look for guys like Scott Lawton, Kevin Hayes, Sean Couturier, Cam Atkinson. Like these guys are two-way players that lack some of that offensive punch, but they bring the other element of the game. And that's what these coaches excel at. And I think that's what I've been thinking a lot about. And that's why you realize that Tortorella is such a big name going around. And the Flyers probably are thinking like, hey, this guy meets everything we need. He's not the biggest name right now, but he meets every single thing we need on the list.
That too, and just the fact that with those players like Lawton and Lindblom, they literally fit into those systems like a glove. Like
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Already defensively responsible. It's not like you have to like instill that into them.
You don't have to change their game. You don't have to get something else out of them.
Exactly. It's more just like let's focus on how can we, make that defensive part of your game even stronger and then get some more offense out of it as well.
Remember when Laviolette was fired, which again, you look back at that was a really stupid decision to fire him 3 games into the season and then fire Craig Berube.
You might as well have
a great coach.
You might as well have just fired him during the offseason.
If you think about the coaching tandem we had, if you think about it today and having Laviolette and then Craig Berube as your backup, you're like, oh, that's 2 of the best coaches in the league.
Oh, crazy.
That's a side story. But the problem with Laviolette is that he didn't have the type of horses he needed to play his system. And that's why Craig Berube took over and got more, because Craig Berube plays a more physical style, a more defensive style, a more grind style than Laviolette, who plays a more scoring. They do grind, they do forecheck, but they look for a lot of like breakout passes from the point, like quick execution, a lot like AV. And it didn't fit with our system. And Craig Berube did get us into the playoffs that year. And you look at kind of the style that we were playing prior to this and what we're trying to instill now could help. That's all I'm saying. And we can get into Cassidy now if you want to get into Cassidy.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I just wanted to say that, people who've been listening to this probably know that Montgomery was my top choice. But honestly, if Cassidy's out there, I would go Cassidy even over him. Like, I'd probably go Cassidy.
Talk to me. Why?
It's just a way. Okay, my main reason is this. I mean, look at the success the Bruins had with Bruce Cassidy for all those seasons, made the playoffs. That's the first thing. He knows, how to put a winning team together, winning culture. That's a first thing. The second thing, and I think this is the most important part about it and why I would personally bring him from the Flyers management. Look at, Cassidy with the Bruins. Who was the one constant there? Always Patrice Bergeron. Who do you have that mirrors Patrice Bergeron in almost every way? You have Sean Couturier.
Yeah.
So, like, talk about a coach that knows how to get the most of his best player and make him even better. I think Couturier would excel even more.
I
Under
think
Cassidy.
that's a fair point. Charlie McAvoy did really well under him as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like at least with young defensemen too. That's a point too that he could help with like Provorov, Sanheim.
They actually switched his whole team on him at one point.
Yeah.
For like the whole back end.
Pretty much, yeah. It was
handled that well.
It was Chara and Krug, and then they went to like McAvoy and Gretschlin.
Yep. And they lost what's his name last year? Krejci.
Yeah, it was like seamless. There's like, okay, we got rid of Chara and Krug. Give me McAvoy.
Yeah, now they got Lindholm.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think it's hard for me to say that I know his game that well because I feel like he plays the way the Bruins play, if that makes sense, or he coaches.
Yeah.
Which is why I was surprised.
But he's also more defense first.
Defense,
kind of like
a Craig Berube, probably.
Yeah, similar, I would say, yeah. Whereas defense, but also puck possession oriented, because the Bruins. I mean, they love to attack you and have the puck, but they're also
a lot of forechecking.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something the Flyers aren't great at, but not necessarily because they don't have those type of players, but they just didn't execute on it at all.
And they didn't get the buy-in. And I think they do have the legs, like in the young players, to execute.
We didn't even mention JVR, which is, who played for Tortorella, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But like what was I gonna say? What was it? I don't even think that, I don't know if JVR played for Tortorella.
No, he didn't.
Backtrack on that.
Why did I think so?
I might be wrong on that, but
no. I think you're right. But why did I think he did?
But
anyway, go ahead.
Either way, no. I think with those like guys and with the way that kind of Boston was structured, if you just look at the way those teams kind of played under Cassidy, I mean, it was always puck possession, but also defense as well. And then similar, like you said, to Berube, stuff like that. But I mean, he'd be a great hire. There'd be a lot of, I think, players that would excel under his system. I mean, like you said, you saw a college defenseman like Gretschlik, who didn't really look like he was going to be a top four defenseman in the NHL. And then he turns out to be like a diamond in the rough. So, I mean, that bodes well for like a guy like Cam York, or even younger defenseman coming in. Obviously, he knows how to get the most out of them and their games. Other breakout guys, I think, would do well under Cassidy. I think Konechny too. I mean, physical, but also
Marchand type.
Yeah, so I was gonna kind of bring that up. Like, who does he kind of mirror, or Brad Marchand? Like, who just came from coaching Brad Marchand for like 7 seasons and knows, like, okay.
And our Pasternak is Farabee.
Yeah, there you go. But speaking of Pasternak, I mean, there were rumors that today that I saw. I don't know how true they are. I think Elliot Friedman kind of disputed them, but the Bruins would be open to trading Pasternak, potentially moving on from that. I mean, if that's true, Flyers should be all over that. Obviously,
I imagine most teams in the league would be all over that. I don't think he's like in his prime.
I don't think it's true though. I think
Bergeron's like 40.
I think it's bullshit. I don't think it's true.
It doesn't make any sense. As Bergeron's going to leave your team soon anyway. You're going to.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Bergeron retired. I could see it.
That's what I'm saying.
Them letting the coach go. Like Marchand starting out injured. He's not going to be starting the next season. Same with
trade
McAvoy.
And sign Lindholm and then trade Pasternak. Unless you're trading Pasternak for like Jack Eichel, and even then, I'd say you might be losing that trade.
Yeah, I think you probably would be losing that.
You know what I'm saying?
Pasternak's another level, man. He's really good.
Pasternak's a little bit older.
He is, but I just feel like the dynamic.
Eichel without the injury, dude, he's like a Draisaitl, isn't he?
Yeah, he's close. I mean, the thing is, I still think Eichel's a great player. I just think the injury adds another factor. I want to see him kind of bounce back.
No, you're right. Look, it's a risk. It's a risk.
It is.
It's fair. Pasternak is not. Pasternak's been consistently an elite goal scorer every year.
But yeah, really just back to the Cassidy and just like the breakout guys. I mean, like Konechny. I mean, Cassidy could give him the blueprint. Here's how. Because think about it, Marchand didn't break out to this extent till well into his career. Like, he didn't have an 80-point season till he was about 27, 28.
Dude, I've been saying that about Marchand for a while. When people were talking shit on TK, I was like, do you guys like actually pay attention to when players get good, or do you guys just only remember like the 3-4 years in which they got good.
Yeah,
Do you know,
because like Marchand, like let me see. I've got to pull his stats up here.
He's
Like,
got to be mid-20s when he broke out, but he was good before that.
He had 85 points in 2016-17. He had 20 games played in 2009, so he played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. 7 seasons before he had 85 points.
What did he have prior to that, though?
61 the year before in 2015.
And then before that, he was in his 40s.
42,
50,
53, 36, 55, 41.
Yeah, so about what Konechny is doing.
Yeah, and Konechny's played what, like 4 or 5? Like he's played even less seasons, right?
Yeah,
like
and he broke out earlier. Actually,
Marchand, I guess, yeah, because Marchand full seasons, he had what, 77 games, 2010.
Actually, it's very similar production so far.
Yeah, so 1, 2,
trade
3, 4,
TK
5. In 5 full seasons. No,
I guess TK is not
seasons.
as good of a goal scorer, though.
No,
you should never expect that he's going to be a 40 goal scorer, but he should be a 30 goal scorer.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, just the way they play, like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, they're similar players. You got a Cassidy in here. I wouldn't be surprised if he, helps connect and kind of reach that potential or unlock more to his game. And obviously, I feel like, wasn't that around the time? Okay, so around the time Marchand breaks out, when does Cassidy get hired? Is that around, like, is that a coincidence? I don't know.
I don't know what year he was hired.
Let's see. I got to search all this up.
Because Claude Julien, I thought Claude Julien was there for the beginning of the breakout.
He might have been.
But so time flies, dude. I lose track.
Bruins fire head coach after 6 seasons. So, I mean...
6 seasons. Wow, man, time flies, dude.
Yeah, so he was the head coach for 6 seasons, meaning that...
no, they probably already entered their prime.
No, so the first season Cassidy was coach, he had 85 points then.
All right.
Because that's 6
Hire
seasons.
Cassidy.
I don't know if that's what that means, but I'm just
sold.
Like, I don't know what the correlation is, but yeah. So 2016, he was hired by the Bruins, and Marchand had 85 points that year. So there you go. I mean, not to say there's correlation there, but obviously Cassidy, I mean, it must have had an effect on him in some sort of way. So that just shows. I mean, he did help a lot of guys in the Bruins, break out. I mean, McAvoy, Marchand, stuff like that. So it could be a benefit for the Flyers and some of their young guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything to say in terms of Cassidy at all. But.
Well, no, I think those are great points. And, to your point, I think the Flyers have I think there's some really interesting correlations that you made there. And I think that is intriguing to me. And I would definitely be open to it. I think his resume is high enough. The only thing is I do wonder is, like, would his system require that we need to be even more physical than Trotz's and Torts' system? Like, is his system like even more, like, are the Flyers aggressive enough to play his system?
Yeah.
Like, literally by nature. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Sure. I mean, for a team that already lacks physicality as well. So.
And maybe that's not true, though. Maybe I'm wrong about Cassidy because I don't know him as well as the other two coaches. So I don't want to, I haven't spent too much time because I feel like the Bruins are always like Claude Julien played almost the exact same way. Yeah. I feel like grind, defensive hockey, physical. That's why he didn't do well with the Canadians because the Canadians they weren't really built like that. Then they started getting built like that. And then they had one good run and then. You know what I mean? But they have like Josh Anderson, they had Shea Weber, but they're not like a grind you down type of team.
No, I mean they relied more on their speed, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. So look at the coach they hired.
Yeah, which I mean that kind of makes sense.
Mr. Speed.
Yeah, St. Louis.
Yeah,
just try to kind of bring that out a little more. It makes sense.
To your point, to change the atmosphere, the tone of your room. To be like, hey, well, we have a bunch of fast skill guys and we're asking them to go into the corners and grind out. Why don't we find a guy who understands what it's like to be a fast skill guy, and bring out that element, and then we'll add some muscle over time. We're not going to be that good anyway right now. But if we can get what we're good at, right? If we can get what we're actually good at to go as efficiently as possible, then we'll know what our real holes are. And this is kind of what I was talking about. This is why we're talking about these type of coaches. Is like, if you can at least get the good seasons again from TK and Coots and Pro Rob, and all of a sudden they have good numbers. The Flyers aren't that good. They're not that good, right? They put up good numbers, but maybe they just make it in, or they get the top wild card spot, or the one right below it, right? But they're still a good team, right? They're putting up good points. Maybe they didn't play as well defensively, something like that throughout the year. Maybe their power play wasn't good enough for their penalty kill, right? But they're putting up points. Maybe Couturier puts up 80, 90 points, and Konechny's putting up 70 points. And all of a sudden, they're like, okay, there's some talent here. Then you can actually evaluate your team and be like, okay, this is the best that this team really is, right?
What can we add to get it to the next level? Exactly.
You know? Oh, everybody's doing really well, but Oscar Lindblom is not cutting it anymore. We haven't been able to have that conversation how long?
A while.
you literally, because like people would harp on Nolan Patrick, and I'm like, yeah, but the entire team is playing like shit. Yeah. Why are you picking on one guy?
Everybody's bad.
Exactly. Numbers. Okay, if the team was playing well, if you put Travis Konechny on fucking Tampa Bay, does he put up 50 points in the season? No, he puts up 70.
Probably, if he gets the minutes, yeah.
Assumingly, he probably will.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a high-powered offensive player with a lot of energy, physicality, and he's a good skater. Like, he has all of the skill sets that we want. Like, we were very excited for this player.
It just needs to be brought out in a sense. And I mean,
I think
you saw more of it. You saw more of it at the end of I feel the second half of the season, kind of what he can do. And I think they kind of gave him more of a leash in terms of like, okay, you know, we don't want you. We don't care. Not to say we don't care if you make defensive mistakes, but more of a leash in the fact that, like, you know what, if there's an opportunity for you to pursue offensively, go after it. Whereas I don't know if under Vigneault that was always the case and always given to him. I think he was kind of more wary of the chances he was trying to take, and which he should take, and which shouldn't he take. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think we're noticing a pattern here, and like even if we look at Rick Tocchet, like how does Rick Tocchet play? I know he plays. He plays like fucking Dave Tippett plays. He plays like Cassidy. He's gonna want them to play the same way.
Well, defensively sound, and then you turn your defensive structure into offense, right?
Yes.
And
so they're all the ones that have been interviewed.
Yeah.
Right. Or I guess Cassidy not, but he's just available.
And I mean, I would say that's not.
He's got to jump to the top of the list. They have to talk to him.
They'll definitely interview Cassidy. Like I would be surprised if they didn't.
So let's talk about a couple coaches that were named and the Flyers haven't interviewed them, right? Like we know about Kevin Dineen, right? That came up. But so your initial top pick, Jim Montgomery.
Yeah, Montgomery has not gotten an interview yet.
Right. Paul Maurice and Peter DeBoer, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Those three guys, again, I'm bucking them in. There's nuances between all of these coaches. None of them are complete one for one.
I mean,
in my opinion, are Torts and Tortorella.
Yeah. And also like it's hard to go into like that many coaches and really break their system down in a little more than an hour. So
100%. And we don't have I don't even have the time to do that prior to this, to do the research. Yeah. But you look at them, they're just a more offensively minded coach. So let's just bucket them in. And who would excel under those guys? Specifically here in Philly.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I did a lot of research into Montgomery's system. It's all like, high offensive sustained pressure, creating high danger chances, trying to sustain yourself offensively through puck possession.
Probably maybe a more aggressive,
aggressive
power
system.
Play,
yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. But also just playing really fast with the puck and using the puck and the fact that the puck's a faster, thing and component to use to your advantage versus then your actual speed, because the puck can move faster than you can skate. So, I mean, that was
power play coach.
Yeah, that was a facet of his system, and the fact that he just wants to move the puck fast, play fast, and when you don't have the puck, attack the other team and get the puck back once again fast. So with him, it's all fast,
like Laviolette.
Yeah, like Laviolette. So you have to have the horses to do that. Which I mean, I think the Flyers with a lot of the younger players are kind of bringing in. They are faster players.
They somewhat do have the horses, and we'll go through them. But keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with him it'd be interesting. And I think in terms of breakout players, a lot of the younger guys I think would not necessarily break out, but I think they would benefit from the system he employs, just because he plays into their skills a little bit better, just with the way that they're probably going to try to utilize their speed and just play a faster game, because obviously, I mean, the newer game, the newer NHL is all about speed. So
yeah, well, okay, let's be honest. Couturier would excel under any of these coaches. Would he excel more under Jim Montgomery?
Probably not.
Well, let's talk about Jim Montgomery, because I don't think either one of us are that interested in the other two.
No.
DeBoer. I know they've been talked about, but I think Jim Montgomery is probably the closest to realistic. But just like, I guess, a more offensive coach. So Couturier would probably excel no matter what, but he'd have to be more relied upon to play defense, right?
Exactly. Whereas like in a system like Trotz,
It would be
or
more team-oriented defense.
Yeah, and then I mean, obviously he's a great defensive tool. So on the penalty kill for any of those coaches, he's gonna do what he does.
Yeah, like I think under all the coaches, he plays 21 minutes a night, right?
Probably. I don't think there's much variance there in the ice time.
Yeah,
like
but I don't know if it benefits Coots. I don't know if it benefits as much as the other two coaches defensively. Offensively, it might.
Yeah,
it could. If we go to the other guys, like, okay, you brought up Tippett. I think a guy like Tippett could definitely benefit from a guy like Montgomery.
Tippett, Frost,
Case,
like a lot of the younger guys,
TK
as well.
Farabee, Bobby Brink.
Yeah,
he makes the team. I think Noah Cates is kind of in the bucket of he probably will do good under any coach because he's not going to be in a high.
He's a high maintenance player.
Well, he's also not going to be a top 6 forward. He'll probably be a bottom 6 forward on this team.
And you know what you're going to get.
That's my point. I think he's already a good bottom 6 forward. So I think any coach would like him. He's got the same benefits as like a Couturier or an Oscar Lindblom. I think Lindblom would be about the same. I don't know if he would do better or worse, really, for an offensive coach. Maybe worse to some degree because he can be a 4th line winger. So they use him for that, but that's not what he is.
No.
And it's almost a shame because they're like, well, I have other guys to put there. And I know Lindblom could do this, so I'm going to put him here.
I'm kind of interested for Lindblom if they don't, move on from him, because there has been rumors that they might trade him. But I'm interested to see because I mean he's still off that cancer diagnosis. Obviously, your body continues to get strong and recover from that. So I'm wondering if like this is fully like him going into this season, he's like finally fully physically recovered from that. I don't know what the time frame is on that. I'm not too sure, but you know what I mean. Like I don't know. Yeah, so we'll see. It's interesting.
Yeah. I think a guy like JVR would not excel. I think he would actually do better under I think he'd do better under Torts and Trotz, to be honest.
Probably, yeah. I agree there.
And I think they might get him to play more physical.
That too, and
he
I
plays
think
better when he's physical.
Yeah, and I think also JVR just puck possession fast style system and just trying to move the puck up ice as quick as possible. I don't know if that's something that's going to benefit him the best. So
exactly.
But I mean, let's say they got a guy like, let's say you move out to JVR and get Johnny Gaudreau in here, then that's a guy who'll benefit from that system.
So that's a great point. So let's say the Flyers, there's not going to be many options out there to get a high-end player. Maybe it'll be Philip Forsberg, maybe it'll be Johnny Gaudreau.
Those are the two best case scenarios, probably.
Yeah. Let's say right now it's Johnny Gaudreau because quite frankly, he's the most realistic to come here because he probably does. A part of him probably does want to come here. Maybe it's not the only reason, right? Like maybe there's other reasons that would deter him.
But it's a factor.
Maybe he wants to stay. Well, maybe he wants to stay in Calgary too. Like I talked about, like who knows? They might be like Mangiapane. Goodbye. This guy had a 115-point season.
Yeah, and also though you got to factor into this too. Like he's from Philly, he's a Philly guy, but he also got drafted by the Flames and has been in Calgary since like 21, 22 years old, like 7, 8, 9 years at this point. So like, just when you're in a place that long, that becomes home as well for you, right? So
but there is the John Tavares thing, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
There's the Spezza thing.
You actually want to come to where you were raised and came from too.
At the highlight of your career. Now, and this was the High and Wide podcast actually mentioned this, which I thought was a really good point, which was when did the Rangers sign Panarin? He was 28 years old. They weren't a good team in the NHL.
No. And
they added an elite top scoring left winger.
And you could argue, I mean, there isn't that hometown factor for Panarin going to New York.
They paid extra.
Yeah, they paid a ton of money for him.
That's my whole fear with Johnny Gaudreau is I'm worried about having a contract that other teams wouldn't pay for. If I'm paying what the other teams who are going to be negotiating, fine, but I'm not overpaying. I'm not giving you 11 and a half when everybody else can give you 10.
Would you pay him $10 million?
I think that's what but that's what the market's gonna. Another team would.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he's a $9 million player.
I'll agree. Yeah.
I don't think he's better than Couturier.
No,
right? But he produces more points than Couturier.
Yeah, so they're better in different areas. Like Couturier is going to affect the game on the score sheet less, but defensively he's going to help you. Whereas Gaudreau might impact it more on the score sheet, but he's not going to help you
Yes,
defensively. Anywhere,
points gets you paid. So like in my ideal world, I give Johnny Gaudreau 7 years, $9 million a year.
Which I mean, I think that'd be a fair contract for a skill set.
He's gonna demand more.
He's gonna probably get a $10 million,
10 and a half. Yeah, he's a 100-point player.
Wherever he signs, they'll probably get around there. Exactly.
In a year where there's a lot of 100-point players on a very high scoring team, you can make the case that you can get that number down a little bit. But again, he's gonna be in demand. This isn't gonna be a player like you. That's what I said. I think us being his hometown team, it means we don't have to overpay for him like a worse situation would. But we still have to pay as much as everybody else.
Like you still have to pay fair value.
Yeah, we're not getting. It's not the Kevin Hayes deal where we had to pay $1 million extra because of UFA and he could have gone anywhere. I think in our case, it'd be like it's more like the JVR deal where JVR could have got another year. I think, or no, 2 more years. He could have got 7 for 7, and he gave us 7 for 5. And thank God we don't have him for 3 more.
Because he wanted to come to Philly. Exactly.
That's the type of situation I think we can get with.
Definitely, you're gonna probably pay fair value, but
you're still getting paid.
You're still gonna pay him exactly.
But Johnny Gaudreau is a very good player with a very elite skill set, and it would make us better if we get him in here and you can make it work. It makes you immediately a better team. It changes the tone of your franchise enough to at least move things in the right direction. You got to look at it. Yeah. So if we look at the coach, I think Jim Montgomery probably would be the best for him.
Exactly.
Having said that
system with the puck possession and just playing fast and everything.
But that isn't the case for what is his best season, which is under Sutter, who's a defensive coach.
Yeah, very
so you look at that and you go, okay, maybe he's not going to put up 115 points, but if I can play him with the right guys, I do have some guys on here with definite talent. I do have Sean Couturier. I look at that combination. Again, Ryan Ellis is a big part of all of this because
of course,
he changes everything for every coach.
Well, a thing too, I think that's important to note is that like Daryl Sutter, like Trotz, like Tortorella, a lot of those defensive first systems, I mean, your offense is kind of built on counterattacks and building offense to your defense. I mean, a guy like Gaudreau, he's really fast. So he can, on those counterattacks where they kind of can switch quickly, he has the ability to pounce. So that's why I think, like you said, he's excelling under a Sutter, even though it's a defense first system. Whereas there's so many different counterattacks, just the way they play structurally defensively, you can capitalize on that. So I think under any coach, I mean, he's a great player. He's going to do great under any coach, really, if they can acquire him. So
I think Gaudreau is worth, or Forsberg, they're both worth taking a financial risk on both of them. They're elite enough that they're great players. And even if Gaudreau is not a 100-point player, if he's an 80-point player making $10 million a year on this team, it's still good.
Yeah, and then I mean, also you got the TV deal money coming in eventually, so next few years. So that helps.
It's just quite frankly, like maybe this isn't the year for it, and that's if I'm the GM of the Flyers, I'm probably not gonna make people happy this summer, and it's not something I normally would do, but I look at this upcoming draft, okay, and I look at again, it depends. If I get Barry Trotz, like my plans could change, but I look at the upcoming draft. I look at not the fact there's just Connor Bedard, but that there's Michikov. My team's not that good, right? Is my window, again, I don't know what UFAs are available next year, but is my window actually next year? I brought this up before, right? Yeah. Do I take a mulligan on the fucking year, piss people off again? I might lose my job if I'm GM, right? Yeah. But I'm not going to bring in any big names. Maybe I'll bring in one young guy who's about 25. Maybe he's pretty good. Like I'll do something like that, right? And I'll work on getting rid of JVR. I'll work on getting rid of probably Scott Lawton, probably Lindblom. Just clear cap space out for the season, right? And try not tank, but realistically, my team probably won't. Like this is assuming Ryan Ellis doesn't play too. Yeah, you at least have a double chance the odds for a franchise changing player in a year where you probably won't be a Stanley Cup contender, right? Like maybe you can be decent, but you're not going to be a Stanley Cup contender. So you go into next year, doubling your odds into a franchise caliber player, which you normally only have one of them in the draft. You have two. So you could maybe win a lottery, do something. It's the time to gamble. And then you think about the amount of cap that you cleared, the potential players that are available the following year, and then all of a sudden maybe things clear up a little bit and not as many questions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's something they definitely have to consider, especially
I don't
too
think
if
it's going to happen.
no, I don't. I don't think. I honestly don't think it's going to happen too, just because obviously, like you
I think
said,
we're going for Goudreau.
yeah, I could. I mean, more. It's more likely than not. I would say that's for sure, and that's because, like you said, Fletcher, if he does that, chances are he's out of a job, so he's going to try to go for it right now because I mean that's what he's going to try to do to keep his job, which makes sense from his perspective. But I mean, what that does, though, what you were bringing up is, I mean, realistic option that I think they should kind of look at, just because
just 1 year, not beyond that.
Yeah,
1 year.
yeah. But the reason why it makes sense is the fact that okay, there's no guarantee you're going to be able to get any of those players. No guarantee you're going to be able to move the salary you need to move. There's no guarantee you're going to be able to make the trades you might want to make. So it might not all fall into place for you. So why, like, you don't want to force it if you can't do it, right? So that's the thing. But also another factor is I looked at the free agents for 2023 as you were kind of looking at or saying that, looking into that free agent class. Let me tell you, there are a lot of interesting options available. And so
I would imagine, but they won't all be there by the time.
No, they won't.
We got to remember that.
Just for conversation, just for conversation's sake, like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, James Van Riemsdyk, Max Pacioretty, David Pasternak, Nathan McKinnon, Dylan Larkin, Matthew Dumba, Timo Meyer, Jordan Stahl, Jonathan Huberdeau, Bo Horvat, Gustav Nyquist, Dmitry Orlov, Dadnov, Tyler Bertuzzi, Travis Sanheim, Alex Killorn. There's a lot of pretty decent players in that list. I mean, like you said, they're not all going to be there, but that's pretty interesting to me. Yeah, you'd want to have cap space for an off season like that, you know.
And that's all I'm saying is, like, maybe you pick your spot. I don't think that that's what's going to happen. I think realistically, the Flyers will go out. They're
going to try to make some moves. Yeah,
they will draft the best player they can at this draft. They will try to sign the best player that they can. If they fail, we'll probably get some band-aids. People will be really pissed, but they'll try to get
somebody. Yeah,
Goudreau. They'll go for Forsberg, whoever's available. I think they'll go for all of them, as long as it's, like I said, as long as we're not paying more than other people. If we're paying the fair market value, you can move that contract if you have to. If you're overpaying, you're fucked.
No, of course.
You're not getting rid of that contract. Look at the Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky's a good goalie. Okay.
Yeah.
Most teams would take him at 10 million. Nobody's taking him.
But like at 7 million, you could get rid of him.
You can get rid of him. That's my point. I don't want Johnny Gaudreau.
Well, yeah. Well, you don't want. Well, you want the albatross. Well, it makes a lot of sense because hypothetically, let's say you get him at 11, and 5 years from now, it doesn't turn out. And
look
you
at
get rid of him.
Yeah. And
they'll never be able to get rid of that. We'll never be able to get rid of that contract.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that this is the year to get yourself in that type of hole.
Yeah.
We're not that good. We don't know exactly what's going to happen.
No.
But if you can add him in a smart way, or Forsberg in a smart way, and let's say they're looking for a new beginning and they're like, you know what? There is promise here. I think maybe in 2 years we can be a Stanley Cup contender with the young talent here, with the young D and everything. They're not Flyers fans. I don't think we do. I think there's a chance that, you can bring one of those guys in.
Yeah, it's possible. And I think too, another thing you can't rule out is the fact that, I mean, let's say obviously the big candidate to get moves JVR, but there's no guarantee that there's going to be, some other guys that aren't moved out as well. So if more cap space
did you hear about the trade rumor?
What would that be?
Yeah. Finish your statement. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries. So basically, there's no guarantee that other guys will not be moved out. So there's not necessarily, you're not necessarily
a clear roadmap.
Yeah, there's not a clear roadmap. So who knows? Who really knows how much salary cap you might have? Maybe you won't end up having to, be locked into so much money that you thought you might not have, essentially.
So the Flyers apparently were offered Jeff Petrie for JVR last year. Yeah. Now the Flyers turned it down.
Interesting.
Why would they turn it down?
The only reason, does Petrie have one more year in his deal?
I'm pretty sure.
And so does JVR. I honestly don't.
I think I think Petrie's got 2 more years in his deal.
Okay. Either way, I wouldn't have turned it down even if he asked 2 more years.
Unless you're like, I'd rather just be more mediocre.
Yeah, or I'd rather be free of the money. I don't want to be locked into any money, and then I can make a decision.
Because the years that I'm going to have Jeff Petrie, I don't really think it would be very good.
Well, it's possible.
How many years does Jeff Petrie have?
I don't know.
If my theory here, if he has the same amount, then fuck Fletcher.
This doesn't really make a fucking lot of sense.
No, he's got 2. Yeah, he's got 2 more years after next year. He's got 3 years left on his
contract. Oh, okay. So maybe then I think it's just the term and the fact that they probably don't want to be locked into another. Because I mean, think about it.
And Montreal's like, yeah, we want out of that contract.
Yeah,
we don't care about being better.
Well, yeah, because if you don't make the trade and you're the Flyers, and even if you don't trade JVR, you're still out from underneath after next season. Whereas Petrie, you have 3 more. So, and this the cap, it's pretty similar. I swear, Petrie's like 6.25, right?
Well, if Ryan Ellis comes back, right, and then you have Petrie, Ellis, then all of a sudden you have no cap space.
No,
right? And you have Petrie for 2 more years.
Your defense is stacked, though.
Yeah, but you have Petrie for 2 more years at 6. Then you lose Sanheim because you can't sign Sanheim.
So there you go. There's the reasons right there, actually.
Yeah. But it tells you kind of the honesty and what the Flyers think that they're in. Yeah. Everybody keeps talking about this aggressive. Like, I think people want to assume that I think Chuck Fletcher is dumber than he is.
No,
you know what I mean?
I think they realize the fact that they're not very good, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna not try to like make the team better. Like you can, like you said, you can sign Johnny Gaudreau, you can try to make some moves, but also still look to the future too. So
how is what the Rangers did not an aggressive rebuild?
Well, it was
the first year that they announced that they're rebuilding. They signed the best free agent available.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. So the Flyers could follow those footsteps potentially.
My point is that it's bullshit.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, no team,
not what they said in the fucking press conference.
No, that too, but also no team is gonna actively. Well, I guess some teams will actively try to tank, but at least
Arizona.
You know how the Flyers are. You know how a big market team like New York is. Those types of teams aren't going to actively not pursue a top free agent if they think they can actually sign him. So
exactly. And dude, Johnny Gaudreau is our Panarin potentially, right?
Yeah.
And he's a hometown kid. It's a huge win for the organization to bring him in here.
Oh yeah,
people have been talking about it for years since he was drafted.
Definitely. Also, it'll be interesting to see like this. The thing is, there's not really much going on right now in terms of news in the offseason, but there's still so much potential for like things to unfold. So I'm in a wait and see mode. Yeah, I'm in a wait and see mode, but we're gonna start. It's soon. It's gonna start kind of unfolding a bit once the draft comes around. And
we'll probably have Steve on again before the draft, and we'll have one again afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's speaking of potential, let's end on this. Let's talk about the draft here before we end because we've already gone over on how much we're gonna go, but that pretty much happens every time.
Yeah.
So the draft is coming up. Okay, these lists are shifting again. I don't know if you noticed.
Cutter Gauthier is rising up the list.
Cutter Gauthier has been rising up the list to. I've seen the Flyers now selecting him at 5.
At number 5, which I am not a fan of personally.
But what I am more excited about is that Logan Cooley is falling.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've seen him as low as 4. And if he gets taken at 4 and we lost 4, I'm gonna be so heartbroken. Though it is what it is. I'm not gonna actually cry, but I'm like, God damn it. If he falls to 5,
what could have been if excited. What could have been, Yariv, if the NHL had a probability system that made any sense?
Yeah. I think. Look, I've been listening to a lot of stuff, a lot of opinions. Okay, I think there is an opportunity here for Logan Cooley to fall.
It's possible. Yeah.
It's not likely. It's not the most likely,
but it's possible.
It's possible that he falls to 5 because the 2 best defensemen are right there and available.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have Wright and Slavkovsky that look like they're going to be in the top 5 as well. So then that would make him fall, essentially.
And then you see some of the other names that are highly intriguing, like Kamel, who's a guy who could bump all the way up.
That's a guy, honestly, I wouldn't have
That's who I think the Flyers are taking at 5.
I could see, yeah. I mean, I just did an article on him and kind of looked into his stuff more and just into his play. And man, does he have a deceptive shot.
David Pasternak style, bro.
Yeah, that, and then also even like release wise, like not as good as Line, but like reminiscent of that, similar.
I mean, look, I've heard those comparisons, Pasternak and Line, and I think this team is dying for one
Even
of those.
Forsberg too. I made that comparison myself. Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, dude. Well, man, it'd be awesome to get Philip Forsberg. Who would you rather have, Forsberg or Gaudreau? I think Gaudreau, from the standpoint that, like, man, we need a fucking play driver. But
I would
Forsberg,
say,
like, fantasy wise, maybe that would have been the one. Like, definitely a couple of years ago too.
I would say Gaudreau, and the reason is I think he's more of like the whole package. That's kind of what the Flyers need, a guy that can score, but it can also play make, and
he's smaller,
play and create opportunity. But
Forsberg's a bigger player.
Forsberg's that like bull in a china shop where he could score you 40 goals, and he's just
you throw him on the right side with Couturier, but then again, you throw Gaudreau with Couturier, it's like
it's still good. So
yeah,
either way, you can't miss.
This team lacks size, though.
Yeah.
So there is something to say there too. Fuck, what was I just about to look up? What were we talking about before Gaudreau?
Our draft and
oh yeah. So I remember. Did you see that Craig Button released his rankings?
No, I didn't take a look actually.
I didn't look to see. Out? Yeah, I didn't. Well, I checked him out very briefly earlier today because I barely had time to fucking do anything. And I don't know if Bob McKenzie released his. Let me check Bob's. No, he's still in the midterm. So I'm on Elite Prospects, and I noticed that Craig Button has his May, and his rankings have changed. And Joachim Kamel is ranked at 3.
Yeah, I see Shane Wright, Cooley, Kamel, Slavkovsky, Nemec, Juracek, Cutter, Gauthier, Jimmy Snuggerud,
yeah,
Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, and
he keeps rising. Lecker-Mackey,
Mintyukov. Yeah. The other one too is
Savoy in the top 10.
Maristachenko was the big one too because he was clear. He was cleared for his injury, I believe, right? Or wasn't supposed to be as significant as they thought. So I think that was a big deal as well. So apparently he's risen as well up the rankings.
Well,
Matthew Savoy 17. That's
I honestly I like that he has Yariv still ranked high. These Russian kids are getting beat up in the rankings. What do you think about a guy like Cutter Gauthier, who's a center left wing? I don't think I've heard that he's a great skater though. I've heard contradictory.
I mean, to be honest, I didn't think he was going to be in the Flyers' range. I've really been focused on the guys that are like 1 to 5, 1 to 6. Yeah. So like Wright, Cooley, Kamel, Slavkovsky, Nemec, Juracek. Everyone else kind of slipped out, even Savoy as well. But for Gauthier, I know he's got a lot of size and he moves well.
He did very well in World Junior Champions. He had 9 points in 6 games, 3 goals. 6
you know what? I don't want to shit on the kid and the pick if the Flyers did end up going that route. But I'm not sure if the dynamism is there with him versus some of the other guys that could be available. So I don't know if I would be very happy with that if they did go that route with him.
I can't see it happening. So I'm looking at the top 6 and I really look at that list and I go, we're getting one of Bob McKenzie's top 6.
What with those top 6?
Yeah, which is Wright, Cooley, Kamel, Slavkovsky, Nemec, or Juracek.
Yeah, I really throw Savoy in there too because apparently they scouted the Winnipeg Ice like crazy this season. So.
I am higher on Savoy than I think the Flyers are, and
Possibly,
I think guys like Isaac Howard, who's really good, and Nazar. I think a lot of these players.
I feel like Yurov's getting overlooked, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yurov is like. There are a lot of really good players in this draft. The Flyers could be like, hey, we'll take a second round pick. I don't see it happening. I think the Flyers realistically are hoping that one of Wright, Cooley, or Slavkovsky
drops. Yeah.
But look, you can't do wrong with any one of these top 4 forwards, in my opinion. Wright, Cooley, Slavkovsky, and Kamel.
I would
in the draft. And the 2 best centers.
I wouldn't be opposed to any of those guys. Like if that was the pick the Flyers made, and one of those players fell to them, I would be fine.
So let's say all the forwards go, and you have Nemec, Juracek, and then here it's like Gauthier, Snuggergaard, Lettermaki.
Then I'm going defense or personally.
Then the Flyers go D, I think too.
Yeah, like I'd say defense, and then I would go Yurov over those guys. But I don't think the Flyers will. I don't think the Flyers will, but I would.
I mean, dude, listening to Steve Cornianos and talk about how
He was
good
high
this
on him, yeah.
dude, absolutely insane. Still 1-0. But
Is that really? Wow.
yeah, but I do think that like I think there's a good chance that either Seattle, New Jersey, Arizona, or Minnesota or Montreal, they all look at D
It's
at
possible,
the top of this draft.
Well, they do need D. I'm interested still to see what's up with New Jersey and see if they'll trade the pick because they said they're open for business. So we'll see if they get any offers.
What last I heard is that they're considering converting Slavkovsky to a center.
Interesting. They haven't even picked him, but he's the center in there.
Yeah. So let's just say it would be Wright, Slavkovsky, Cooley, and then it would either be Kamel, Nemechek, or Juracek, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, Cooley could drop another spot, and it could be Nemechek or Juracek taken above that.
Yeah.
Right? Because one of those teams, it's so rare that no team in that bottom end needs D.
Yeah.
Like Seattle,
usually if you're a bad team, you need D. So
Seattle doesn't have a number one D prospect, right?
No.
Montreal does not, though they don't. Though they're crazy, probably did not pick a forward, right? So they're probably going with Shane Wright. You know, they've been looking for this type of guy for a while, regardless, right?
Yeah, that's center.
Yeah. So they definitely need another center. I mean, not desperately, but they do need another center, right? So they're going center. But then, New Jersey, they're stacked at center. They have a bunch of young wingers. They even have defensemen.
Yeah.
Do they have a top pairing right side defenseman? Not necessarily. I guess they do.
They have
Hamilton, but they don't have a future one. So they could look at that and be like, okay, well,
that's a replacement. Yeah. Once Hamilton falls off,
who's the guy we play right under Hamilton who doesn't need to play 20 minutes a night? He can play 18 coming in his first year, second year.
So like foster the development.
Yeah, I think Seattle could consider it as well, and I think Arizona absolutely would consider a defenseman.
It'll be interesting, but I think you're right on one thing. Like I'm not exactly sure who the Flyers are going to go with. Like of all those 6 you mentioned, I mean, Wright, I don't think they're going to get to Wright, but like if you go to like Cooley, Nemec, Juracek, Slavkovsky, Savoy, all those guys, I don't think they could go wrong with. So whoever falls to them, I don't think I would be disappointed. I don't see them, like you said, though. I don't see them trading back and for a second, but I do see. I'm pretty sure they have 2 third-rounders. I do see them trying to package those and move up into the second round. I don't know if they'll be successful doing that, but I could totally see that.
I could see it. Especially, yeah, no, I could see it. I think 2/3 is enough to move into the second round. But it's just how high and what's the player. And quite frankly, I'd be pro that move. You look at how many young guys this organization has that they're not that good. If you can get a guy who slipped out of the first round, which is it's going to happen this year for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get yourself another Bobby Brink.
Especially with the Russians, I think. Honestly, that's who they should really focus on in the second round.
And these Russians you can bring here. You can just bring them directly to the United States.
But then also, too, a lot of the times, I mean, you're not with the Russian guy. You can look at this as a good or a bad thing, but usually you're kicking the can down the line 3-4 years. So usually in the KHL for a while, so it's not something you're gonna have to worry about, and you're not gonna have to worry about retaining the guy's rights either, because you're always gonna have him because he's not gonna sign. So, I mean, it's something to think about. We'll see what they do. Like you said, they have the opportunity here to get a dynamic type of player, a player that can really help them out or instantly become the best player in their prospect pool. I really hope they don't go off the board and fuck it up somehow.
Right now, in my mind, I'm like, if it can't be Cooley, I'm really hoping it's Kamel.
Yeah,
if it's not Kamel, I'm hoping Slavkovsky slipped.
I'm the same. Personally, I think it'd probably be Cooley, Kamel second, and then either Slavkovsky or the defenseman, because I don't think Cooley.
Who would you prefer, Nemec or Juracek? Nemec being more of the dynamic, right-handed, two-way. Yeah,
I'd probably go with Nemec.
Physical.
I'll probably go with Nemec.
Watch the Flyers take fucking Juracek over.
The only reason Juracek would be a bad choice,
but he doesn't have the dynamic skill set of Nemec, from what I understand. And
so I don't know what
I'm not looking for a potential number 3.
I don't know if the production's going to be there for him.
I don't know if that's the thing. I don't know if he's a more cider because we didn't see enough of him
Yeah.
because he's not because he missed a lot of time. If he's a more sighter, then we'll be kicking ourselves. But I guess in this case, we just got to trust
the scouts here.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, and we'll end on this note. Do you think that the Flyers draft philosophy is now different under Fletcher than it was under Hextall? And do you think that the Flyers will be more prone, like in this case, Flyers in the past, Juracek or Nemec, they're going Juracek. Today, I would say Nemec would actually be more of Fletcher's guy than Juracek. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm going to go based
look at York.
I'm going to, I was going to bring that up. I'm going to go based off what Fletcher said. I mean, they're looking for high-end talent. If they go against, what they were kind of preaching.
That's why I think Kamel will be the guy too.
Yeah, exactly. If they go against what they're preaching, then sure. But I mean, if what they're saying is true and they do truly believe that, obviously Nemec would project to be, more dynamic than Juracek, so it would make more sense to go with him. It's interesting just because, I think Fletcher and Flair have done a better drafting job than Hextall, albeit they haven't had the same amount of time yet, but we're slowly starting to see
these height of picks. Is the first time they're picking really high.
Yeah, exactly, that too. But just if you look at Fletcher's track record as these, prospects are starting to come in, even the lower round guys are all making it or having a chance to be NHL guys, and that's a really good sign. You see guys like Noah Cates and Bobby Brink, who's a second rounder, looking like they're going to be NHL players. That's a big deal. And Cam York too. He's really only he got drafted 2 seasons ago, and he's looking like an NHL player already. That doesn't always happen with defensemen. So it looks like they have a good eye for talent. I would say Flair and Fletcher. So that, and just look back at Minnesota. A lot of those players are all their draft picks. So
could you? Yeah, I guess I'll end on this. What happens if it's like Shane Wright goes at 1, and then it's like Nemec and then Juracek back to back, both defensemen, top defensemen off the board, and then all of a sudden it's Cooley, Slavkovsky are both left, and one of them could go to the Flyers. So that's possible.
Yeah, it is possible, definitely, because
Seattle would probably end up being Slavkovsky. Do you think Seattle would take Slavkovsky or Cooley? They take Cooley.
I think they'd probably go with Cooley, yeah. But it's hard to tell because everybody's really high on Slavkovsky, man. So
super high on him.
I don't know. We'll see. That's gonna be someone's gonna drop. I just don't know who yet. So we're gonna see.
If we get Cooley, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Me too, man. You're gonna see me fucking run down the street, no shirt on.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
I love the draft. And honestly, whoever we take, I'm going to get so into watching them play in between them. The cool thing about Slavkovsky, Nemec, Juracek, and Kamel is that they can all come over now.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Where Cooley is not coming here.
Well, yeah, he's committed, but
Shane Wright, I guess, would come over to the NHL too.
I think so, yeah.
Probably because it's just two-way type of guy. All right, let's end on this. What do you got coming out this week? You got anything to tell people about, or this week, next week, whatever?
So I'm doing kind of like a prospect profile series. So I will have an article out. Just had one out on Joakim Kamel. So we'll get another one out on one of the prospects in this upcoming draft. More around the range of the Flyers are kind of selecting. So look for that, and appreciate you all kind of checking it out.
Awesome. 2-0 Tampa Bay, by the way.
Like I said, if they won this one, I think they're taking the series. So we'll see.
It is 2-0. 2-0.
Who scored?
Kucherov.
Oh, damn.
He's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I love watching Kucherov play.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. This was a good episode. Even though there's nothing going on, you see, we still keep talking.
We can still, we never shut up either way.
Again, shout out to our sponsor, Jim Steaks on 4th and South. Go get yourself a cheesesteak. Please like, subscribe, share, do the whole thing. Still reading all the comments for sure.
Same.
Yeah, more stuff to come, more interviews. Hopefully there's a cool interview coming up. Again, we've tried some stuff. People backed out. People disappeared. It happens. But we'll keep doing it. Again, it's a slow season, so a lot of people are on vacation too.
Exactly.
Yeah, but thank you again, everybody, for listening so much. We love it. We will keep doing episodes throughout the summer, and as we get closer to the draft, we'll do more draft stuff. So excited for that. Hopefully, we have a coach to announce pretty soon.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Flyers, John Tortorella. I'm just kidding. All right. Take care, everybody, and remember, always stay gritty.